Ender's Game began its big screen mission at the box office in first place. The Lionsgate sci-fi adaptation about intergalactic soldiers earned $27 million in its opening weekend. The film is based on the 1985 novel of the same name by Orson Scott Card. Bad Grandpa came in second place with $20 million in its second weekend, and the weekend's other major new release, Las Vegas, took the third spot, earning $16.3 million. Well, this weekend you can choose between the fantasy escapism of a Marvel comic book hero, Thor, or a serious drama and an Oscar contender based on a true story about slavery in the American South. Sean McBride, the movie guy, has a preview of this week's new movies.
I gave you my word. I would return for you.
Thor: The Dark World is a typical summer movie blockbuster, except that it's coming out in November. This action-heavy superhero movie features plenty of special effects, although the story's not all that great.
You must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
The film does get much better once Tom Hiddleston shows up, playing the trickster god Loki. He gives such a sly and amusing performance that he elevates every scene he's in. Hey, here's an idea. Instead of making a third Thor sequel, how about we start anew with a Loki movie?
I was born a free man. Lived with my family in New York.
Be good for your mother.
Till the day I was deceived.
To Solomon.
Kidnapped. Sold into slavery.
12 Years a Slave is a powerful film that should be on this year's Oscar shortlist. It's the story about a free black man who is nevertheless sold into slavery. He suddenly finds himself thrust into the nightmare world and understandably struggles to survive his ordeal. This is a very difficult film to watch, but well worth the effort, as it features one of the best acting performances in one of the best pictures of the year.
I don't want to survive. I want to live.
And that's what's new at the movies this week. I'm Sean McBride, the movie guy.
And Sean McBride, the movie guy, joins us via Skype to talk about the weekend's new movies. Hi, Sean.
Happy summer to you, because summer is apparently right back in season because Thor is a summer blockbuster. So break out your shades. Let's have a summer movie talk.
Same thought I had. It feels like a summer movie. Let's talk a little bit about Thor. Now, we expect spectacle, of course, in a movie like this. But is there also a story? Is there heart? Is it gonna tug at me any?
Well, it's not going to tug at your heart. There is a story. It's one of those very comic book stories. I mean, if you're not a fan of the Thor comic book series or a fan of Norse mythology, you might get a little confused. But, you know, these stories exist to give the characters a reason for doing what they do, but the movies exist because the characters do what they do. So to some extent, while you may be a little confused about what's going on at times, you won't care. Thor is a hunky He-Man who's out saving the universe from the Nine Realms, from all these intergalactic insurgents. He fights very well. The special effects are very cool. And I'll tell you right now, I was a little worried about this movie until he has to go get his brother Loki. And Tom Hiddleston plays Loki, and as soon as he shows up, this movie gets 100 times better, really becomes a lot of fun to watch. I think the first bit of the movie is a bit of a mishmash, but the end of it, particularly when Loki gets going, is just fun. The spectacle's over the top, loud, a lot of bombastic stuff. You know, a pretty good summer movie, even though it's released in November.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out if people are in a mood for those the big kind of action film. Let's look at the other film that's opening here, that's 12 Years a Slave. And, of course, this is going to be on a lot of critics' top 10 list and an Oscar contender.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled to see that opening up in the Golden Triangle there. Chiwetel Ejiofor, there's a name we'll have to learn how to pronounce before Oscar Day, plays a free African-American black man living in New York, and he is drugged and tricked and kidnapped and then sold into slavery in the South. And it's a story about this, you know, what happens to this guy who has, you know, a wife and a child and a life, and things seem to be going fairly well for him, and then suddenly finds himself right smack dab in the middle of the slavery system. A really difficult film to watch, you know, as opposed to Thor, you know, where it's nice and fun and popcorn. This is not one that you'll go into lightly, but a really good film. It's Steve McQueen, who is a British director who's, you know, fairly notable for doing some avant-garde filmmaking. And I think he does a very good job here. I expect this is going to be on the short list of Oscar contenders, both for acting and for Best Picture.
Yeah, I know this is based on, of course, a novel that was written in the 19th century, a true account. And I don't know if people are, you know, from what I understand, hearing the director talk about it, you know, he left stuff out of what was in that original novel. And as you said, some difficult material, so people need to be warned about that.
Yeah, and you know, let's face it, if you write a novel, you've written more than 2 hours of a movie. So same issue last week with Ender's Game. Unless you want to make a 15-hour miniseries, stuff has to get left out. And I love that a movie will send you to the book to learn more if you really like the movie. And this is a very good movie. I suspect a lot of people will like it.
All right, John, we appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Okay, and we'll see all of you at a matinee.